Let's now shift our attention to the other big story that we are tracking on WION, and this, of course, has got to do with what is happening in Canada, where Canada's Nazigate scandal has now snowballed beyond Canada's control. The House of Commons Speaker, Anthony Rotter's resignation from his post has in fact failed to contain the growing criticism that Canada is facing. And now furious politicians in Poland are seeking for the extradition of Yaroslav Hunka, the 93-year-old former Nazi soldier, who, remember, was honoured by the Canadian Parliament with a standing ovation just last Friday. The Polish minister, in fact, called for Hunka's extradition from Canada in the pursuit of justice for his alleged crimes. The minister posted a letter on social media platform X, formerly known as Twitter, that he had sent to the Institute of National Remembrance. Prime Minister Justin Trudeau has called the incident as deeply embarrassing. Even as Speaker Rotter has now taken full responsibility for what he has called as a clear case of oversight. In his defense, Rotter has said that he just did not know about the Nazi past of Hunka, whom he had cheered as a Ukrainian hero in the Canadian Parliament as someone who had fought against the Russians.
My name is Yaroslav Hunka.
I mean this literally. Has there ever been a greater diplomatic embarrassment in the history of our country? I mean it literally. In coffee shops and gyms and businesses and boardrooms around the world, people are reading about this massive and shameful disgrace that unfolded under the watch of a Liberal Speaker and a Liberal Prime Minister. And yet, he can't even show up for work. Where is he, and why is he hiding under a rock today?
Now, adding insult to injury, Ukraine's Jewish President Volodymyr Zelensky, remember, was also present in the parliament at the time when the Canadian lawmakers had cheered with a standing ovation for the Nazi veteran. The Ukrainian Jewish President Volodymyr Zelensky reportedly lost some of his relatives in the Holocaust during the Second World War. And apparently he was simply unaware of who he was presented with. And Zelensky raised his fist in solidarity as the Canadian politicians cheered throughout across the House of Commons in Canada in the Parliament, and they cheered for Yaroslav Hunka, the man you're looking up on your screens, the 93-year-old former Nazi soldier.
The Speaker of the House took the fall, and the Prime Minister continues to blame everyone else. A full-blown international embarrassment for our country, for our allies, and for everything this nation did to defeat the Nazis. An actual Nazi invited to the House of Commons, welcomed and celebrated as a hero, and a government that vetted everyone here. Shame. The PM has called Canadian citizens Nazis. Will he muster the courage and stand up on his feet today and take responsibility?
Now, Yaroslav Hunka had served in the 14th Waffen Grenadier Division of the SS during the Second World War. Now, the SS, or the Schutzstaffel, was the armed unit of Hitler's Nazi party. Right before the end of the Second World War, the 14th Grenadier Division unit was renamed as the 1st Ukrainian Division. Members of the division were in fact accused of killing Jewish and Polish civilians. But after the war, nearly about 600 of its troops were allowed to settle in Canada, and there was fierce opposition against letting the Nazi veterans inside by the Canadian Jewish Congress at the time. But the warnings were ultimately ignored as the division soldiers had volunteered not because of a love for the Germans, but because of their hatred for the Russians and the communist tyranny. WION is now available in your country. Download the app now and get all the news on the move.